I want to talk about a person. His name is Renee Girard. He was a French. He was an anthropologist, a sociologist, a writer, a philosopher, maybe even a theologian. He was quite a devout Christian, and I think he researched a lot on Christianity. And Renee Girard is quite an influential figure in the humanities and social scientific world, maybe as important as Sigmund Freud. I actually don't really like Sigmund Freud. I feel that he is a fraud. The psychoanalysis is like bullshit. Um, but okay, Rene Girard I feel is important. Rene Girard became increasingly famous and popular when one of his disciples, Peter Thiel, the founder of PayPal, after his success in PayPal, Peter Thiel frequently credited his success to Rene Girard because Peter Thiel had Rene Girard as one of his professors when Peter Thiel was a law student in Stanford. Peter Thiel credited his success to Rene Girard's famous mimetic theory. Rene Girard published, I think, more than 30 books. He had written a lot at length about all kinds of topics. For example, about human violence, about Christianity's history, evolution, about scapegoating mechanism. But Rene Girard's most important theory remains the human mimetic desire theory. In this theory, Rene Girard posited that most human beings, we are deeply mimetic, and our desires are uh, are highly mimetic. What does it mean? Mimetic means you copy. This is most obvious in babies, toddlers. Right? We observe toddlers and babies. How do they learn languages, especially the mother tongues? Um, Most of them learn by observing and listening how the adults around them speak the language, then they copy. Um, not only mother tongues. Uh, most kids would observe and copy behaviors, personalities, or even ambitions from the parents, the peers, or the adults around them. So this is something very deeply built in human nature. However, Rene Girard went one step further. He said the most problematic thing about most human beings is that our desires and goals are not ours. Most of us form our goals and desires by copying other people. Okay, this is something quite disturbing, disconcerting. I think if you interview most teenagers, they would tell, I think maybe 17-year-old or 18-year-old, they would tell you, oh, what are the things that they like to do, what are some of their passion, things like that. And all the time they would seem very assertive. They would talk like as if they have painstakingly explored the world, and they figured out something they truly like. And I definitely can ascertain this because I can clearly remember when I was 18-year-old, I was also like that. I was also very assertive, talking about things that I believe are great to be my goals, my desires. But Rene Girard said that most of the time, those desires are not ours. We actually copy it from our peers. What does it mean? Of course, this whole thing seems very recursive, because let's say if I copied my goals from my peers, then you might ask, how about my peers? How did they get their goals and desires in the first place? And in turn, their goals and desires are will also derive from other people, might be you yourself, and so on. So as a result, uh, the whole society always experience one mania, one bubble, one after another, some madness of crowd. Like for example, in stock market, this thing always happens. Economic bubbles, stock market bubbles, real estate bubbles. In fact, one of the earliest bubble, tulip mania, was also the same. Nobody had a clue about a flower actually, but they just kept buying, and the price rose, and eventually it burst. And actually, it's not about the money matter. Also, there are lots of things in society. We tend to have a lot of conventions. We tend to have things that are trendy and popular. For example, we see one person shares, we see something becoming viral on the internet. We feel like discussing them, we feel like sharing them with other people. We want to follow the crowd. One obvious thing is my own experience definitely confirmed this. When 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was still, I was just a high school leaver, we were all discussing what courses, what universities to pick, and I clearly and vividly remember how many of us were fighting so ferociously for those few glamorous choices. The famous one definitely medicine, doctors, lawyers, accounting, and the top universities, scholarships, and of course we also had to compete in co-curricular activities. We want to be all-rounded in sports, this and that. And looking back, it is definitely sane to question how many of us actually really wanted those courses and those universities. In fact, it might be even prudent to ask, did we really want to attend universities or not? Did we really think hard about the value of a degree? Or simply because we got it, we wanted to get it because other people also wanted to get it? So as a result, we just blindly follow the crowd. But not only that, there is something extremely disconcerting about human being. We actually derive some joy of competing and eventually defeating peers around us. When we were toddlers, maybe our peers were mostly our siblings, but eventually when you grew older, it will be your classmates, and if you grow older later, it will be your colleagues, and so on. We derive joy. Okay, this might be a dirty secret, but I feel that most people agree with this. We derive joy from defeating our peers. We would probably deep down, we would have a lot of jealousy, envy. We would compare a lot of with our peers on so many things: our career, our titles and positions, our income, our mates. Whether whose spouse is more attractive, and then maybe even deeper, we would compare the number of followers we have on social media. Think who has a more meaningful or a successful life, things like that. We derive joy from defeating our peers. That is something very disturbing. Although on surface, most of us would say that, I don't care about all these things. We are all friends, a big family. So Renee Girard posited that most of us actually, the most disturbing one is that most of us oftentimes don't think about what we really want. We participate or we put effort in something simply because we see some other people are doing that. We want to compete and defeat them. We enjoy the process of joining a tournament and defeat our peers. That's all. I have a friend. We often chat about something more politically incorrect. So in one of our conversation, we talk about a thought experiment. We talk about how a person would go at all costs in order to be more superior than his or her peers. One example is we're talking about income. So let's say in scenario A, let's say a person, Mr. A, he earns $4,000 per month. All right, fine. And then in this scenario A, most of his peers are earning only 3,000, 2,000. So in this scenario A, Mr. A would be quite elated, in fact euphoric, because he seems to be the alpha, he is superior than his mates, all right? And then in scenario B, okay, scenario B is the same Mr. A, so this time Mr. A earns 8,000. Bear in mind, $8,000 per month is the double of the Mr. A in scenario A. So in scenario B, Mr. A earns 8,000, is double. So by right, he should be very happy. However, in this scenario B, there is a catch. In this scenario B, Mr. A's peers are mostly earning 10,000 and above. In this scenario B, very unfortunately, Mr. A appears to be the better, the worst among all his peers. So as a result, we can think, okay, we could compare scenario A and B. We could think which one, in which scenario Mr. A is happier. Actually, if we ignore all the peers, Mr. A should be happier in the second scenario, because in the second scenario, Mr. A earns double, 8,000. In the first scenario, he only earns 4,000. But however, most likely, I discussed with my friend, we both agree with this, most likely Mr. A will be happier in scenario 1, when he, although in absolute term, he is actually poorer, he's only earning 4,000, but he basically defeated all of his peers in scenario 1. So it is very odd. Mr. A would rather be poorer in order to be happier. And scenario 2, although he is richer, but he would be devastated because he appears to be the worst among all his peers. So this is an example, a thought experiment that really illustrated how absurd human beings are. We derive joy from defeating our peers. We don't, because I can understand why, because at the end, life seems quite nihilistic. Otherwise, people won't talk about, life is a simulation. So at the end, it's very hard to derive substantive meaning. As a result, we need to have some yardstick. We need to have a benchmark. And it is so hard to create a benchmark from scratch, an objective benchmark. As a result, we will seek something vicarious. We will seek our peers as the benchmark. We don't know what is good for us. We don't know what is actual merit. As a result, we choose our peers. That's the easiest standard. As long as we are better than the peers around us, then we succeeded. So, of course, this convenience of setting this kind of arbitrary yardstick comes at a huge cost. It will be great if you win, you become the alpha among your peers. But what if you lose? You happen to lose a game. And just now, my example also illustrated that even if you win the tournament among your peers, in the absolute term, you're actually poorer. Do you really want that? So this is something Renee Girard talked about at length in his mimetic theory. He thought that this is something worth talking because if we don't dissect this human nature, this disturbing human nature, most of us would continue to try to outcompete our peers, society. We don't really know what we want, and eventually the society will be very destructive. I'm running out of time. Maybe I will continue about Renee Girard. See you. Yeah.